Okay, we're going to make a start now. So welcome everyone to our GCSE Maths session. In today's lesson, we're going to be looking at the cosine rule. Okay, so last lesson we looked at the sine rule. In today's lesson, we are going to be looking at the cosine rule. Okay, which is just another rule very similar to the sine rule. Okay, so I did put this starter question on as a recap from what we did in our last lesson. I'm just going to go through the question now. Okay, so remember when we have the sine rule, we either have two sides and one angle, or we have two angles and one side. That's how we know whether we're meant to use the sine rule or not. So in this case, we have to use the sine rule because we know two sides and we know one angle. Okay, this angle we need to work out. Okay, so remember the sine rule. The sine rule to working out the angle is just sine A over A equals sine B over B equals sine C over C. Okay, so working out the size of angle X. Okay, it's how do we do this? Well, going about doing this, what we're going to do is we are going to firstly label our sides. Okay, so step one is going to be label. Okay, so we're going to label the sides. So first of all, let's label the corners. A, B, and C, we label them with capital letters, and the side which are opposite the capital letters, we label with lowercase letters. Okay, so look, opposite capital A, you're gonna find lowercase a, opposite capital B, you're gonna find lowercase b, and opposite capital C, you're gonna find lowercase c. Okay, so we've labeled our sides. Now you're going to cross out the letter which you don't need and you don't have any information about. Okay, so we need A. Okay, because A, we're given the angle and we're given the side. Okay, C, we need C because C is X. Okay, we don't want to discard X or we won't know what we're working out. Okay, we don't know any information about B. Okay, so what we can do is we can just cross out B. Okay, we don't need B because we don't have any information about B. So from our formula, we're going to discard B. Okay, so we are going to be left with sine A over lowercase a equals sine C over lowercase c in our formula. And then we just have to substitute it. So what's capital A? Capital A is 60 degrees. So we're just going to add in sine 60 because we know that 60 is capital A over lowercase a. What's lowercase a? Lowercase a is 15, as you can see we've labeled. So over 15. And that's equal to sine capital C. Capital C is X. Okay, so it's going to be equal to sine X over lowercase c. Now lowercase c, as you can see, is 10, what we've labeled, so it's going to be over 10. Now we've got this over here. We're just going to be rearranging this equation. So we have sine 60, I'm just going to bring you over here, over 15 equals sine x over 10. We want sine x to be by itself. So in order for sine x to be by itself, we need to get rid of this divide by 10. So we need to do the opposite of it. So we need to multiply to the other side. We're going to multiply this divide by 10. So we're going to be left with sine 60 over 15 multiplied by 10. And that's going to leave us with sine x on this side. Now, we don't want sine x, we just want x. Because we just want x, we need to get rid of this sign. And to get rid of that sign, you need to do inverse sine of the other side. Okay, so to get just x, we're going to inverse sine to the -1. So on your calculator, you're going to click shift sine. And you're going to have sine 60 over 15 multiplied by 10. Okay, And you can just type this into your calculator. So I'm going to type into my calculator. So we've got inverse sine of sine 60 over 15 multiplied by 10, close your brackets, and you're going to get an answer. It says to three significant figures, 35.3 degrees. Okay, so that's your angle there. So 35.3 degrees to three significant figures is your angle. So that's what we did in our last lesson when we looked at the sine rule. In today's lesson, we're going to do something very similar, and it's the cosine rule. The only difference, main difference that you have is that you have a different formula. We had this formula when we're calculating the sine rule. We're going to have a different formula for the cosine rule. I'm quickly going to recap labeling the triangle again, because that's what you need for the cosine rule. When you're labeling the triangle, the only difference with the cosine rule is the side which is x, or the angle which is x, you have to label as A. Okay, so over here, we just label A, B, and C in any order, right? With the cosine rule, you have to label the side or the angle that you don't know with the A. Okay, so let's say that we need to work out this side. Okay, that's our x. So we would label this corner as A, because it's the corner which is opposite the x. And then the side which is opposite, we would label as lowercase a, and then the B and C can be in any order. So I'll just label that as B and that as C. And then the side opposite it will be lowercase b, and then the side which is opposite this will be lowercase c. Okay, just like that. So the only difference over here is you label your corners as normal, A, B, and C, okay, with capital letters, and you label the side which is opposite to that corner with the lowercase form of the letter, lowercase a, lowercase b, and lowercase c. But the only difference is that the side which is x has to be labeled with A, okay? Or the angle that you're working out, the angle which is x has to be labeled with A. So in this example, let's say we needed to work out this angle. This angle is x. So that means this corner has to be A. Okay, that corner has to be A. The side opposite it has to be lowercase a. Okay, this will be B, and the side opposite it will be lowercase b. And then this will be C, and then the side which is opposite it will be lowercase c. Okay, so it doesn't matter where the B and the C go. It just matters where the A goes. The A has to be on the side which has the X, or the angle which has the X. That's the only difference when it comes to labeling the triangle. Okay, and this is the formula. So it seems a bit more complicated, but we're going to start off by looking at this formula. So this is the formula to working out a side. Okay, and this is the formula to working out the angle. Okay, so just note these two formulas down, and then I'll go through an example question of how you could be asked this in an exam. Okay, I'm just going to give you guys 30 seconds to note that down. Okay, so hopefully you've noted the formula down. It's a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. That's the formula to work out the side length in a triangle. And then if you've noted down the angle formula is cos A equals b squared plus c squared minus a squared over 2bc. Okay, and we're going to come back to this angle formula after we've looked at the side formula. Okay, so this is an example of a question that you could be asked. And if we have a look at this, step one is going to be the same every time. Okay, so step one is going to be label the sides. So what we're going to do is we are going to label the sides, and the only difference with the cosine rule, remember, the A has to be on the side or the corner which you don't know, or which is X. Okay, so as you can see, X is over here. So that means this side is going to be lowercase a, and this corner will be capital A. Okay, because it's opposite to the lowercase a. And then the other two corners can be capital B and capital C in any order. So the side opposite here will be lowercase b. The side which is opposite capital C is going to be lowercase c. Okay, so that's how you've labeled the sides. Okay, now the second step this time is going to be write out the formula. So write out formula. Now, as you can see from this example, we need to work out the length of a side. So we're going to write down the side formula. Now, the side formula is just going to be a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. That's what the side formula is. And as you can see from this shape over here, we have A's, we have capital A's, we have B's, and we have C's. So all we're going to do is we're going to substitute the numbers into the formula. Okay, and for those that are sitting GCSE papers this year, this is on the formula sheet, so don't worry about memorizing this. It's good to memorize so you don't have to look at your formula sheet, but it's on the formula sheet for information. Okay, so a, lowercase a, is x. Okay, so we're just going to label a with x, so we've got x squared equals b squared. Where's lowercase b? It's over here. Okay, it's 10. So we're going to have 10 squared plus c squared. Where's c? C is over here. C is 13. So it's going to be plus 13 squared minus 2b. Where's lowercase b? B is over here. It's 10. So 2 times 10. And where's lowercase c? C is over here, times 13. And then we've got cos, and then we've got capital A. Capital A is over here, it's 100. So cos 100. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to type this long big thing into the calculator. Okay, so we're going to have 10 squared plus 13 squared minus 2 brackets 10, 13, cos 100. And that's going to give us an answer of 314.1485262. Okay, now that's what x squared is. We don't want x squared, we just want x. Okay, and remember the opposites. Okay, so just let me add to this. So write out the formula. 3 is going to be substitute, and then fourth step is going to be square root. Okay, so remember, opposite of adding is subtracting, opposite of multiplying is dividing, opposite of squaring is square rooting. Okay, so what we're going to do to work out just x is we're going to square root the answer that we just got. We're going to square root 314. So 300, we're going to square root 314.1485262. Okay, and if we square root that, it's going to give us an answer of 17.72423556. Okay, now it does say to one decimal place, so we're going to round it to one decimal place. It's going to be 17.7. So 17.7 to 1 decimal place. Okay, if anyone needs anything clarifying, please let me know, so I can clarify for you. But if I go through it just once more, for anyone who wants it clarifying, and then I'm going to give you a question to have a go at yourself. So step one is going to be label the sides. Okay, the side with the X has to be labeled as A. Okay, and then the B and C can be labeled in any order. Okay, so you label the sides. Second step, you write down the formula. Okay, so you write down the formula. A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cos A. And the reason why we're using that formula is because we are working out the length of a side. We then substitute in the numbers that were given in the question into that formula. Okay, so we substituting the 10, 13, and 100 degrees into the formula. And then what we will get is we will get an answer. 314.1485262. And that is going to be equal to x squared. But we don't want x squared, we just want to find out what x is. So to get rid of the squared, we need to square root the other side of the equation. So we're going to square root that big answer that we got over here. And once we square root that answer, we get our final answer, which is 17.724235556. And then it says round your answer to 1 decimal place. So we just round it to 1 decimal place, and then that will be our final answer, 17.7. Okay. If anyone has any questions on that, please let me know in the Q&A. I've got a question for you guys to have a go at now. Okay, so it says work out the length of BC. Have a go at it. I'm going to give you guys 3 minutes to have a go at it, so you guys have enough time to have a go at the question. And then we will go through the answers. Once you get to an answer, let me know in the Q&A. If you're stuck at a particular step, also let me know in the Q&A so I can focus on that when I go through the answers. Okay, so you guys can keep carrying on. You've got 1 more minute left. Um, why can't you use sine rule? Because there's two sides and one angle. Okay. We'll go back to the sine rule question, but the reason why is because over here it says work out the length of BC. BC is over here. BC is over there, and it's an X. Over there in the sine rule, you had two sides and one angle. And the two sides and one angle included the x, the two sides and one angle. Over here, if you include the x, you've got three sides and one angle. Okay, that's why you can't use the sine rule here. But I will go back to that question to explain it after we've done this question. Okay, I'm going to go through the answers now. Okay, now before I go through the answer, I'm going to clarify when to use the sine rule and the cosine rule. So if we go back to the first example that we looked at over here, this is the sine rule. Why is this the sine rule? The sine rule, it's because you've got two sides, and we've got two angles that are involved. Okay, so two sides and two angles because that's involving x. Okay, when we involve x, we've got two sides and two angles, including x. Okay, this is basically when you use the sine rule. When you've got two sides and you've got two angles. Okay, and that includes your x. If we go to the cosine rule question, which is over here, we have three sides and we have one angle, okay, including x. Okay, so we've got one side, two side, three side, and then one angle. We've got the split as three sides and one angle. That's why we're using the cosine rule. We use the sine rule when we had two sides and two angles, including x. Over here, we have three sides and one angle, including x, and that's why we're using the cosine rule. Because in the cosine rule, you will need to use all A, B, and C. So you will need to know the length of three sides. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. Let me know if I haven't answered your question. But we're going to go through this question now. Okay, so it says calculate the length of BC. BC is this length over here. Okay, A has already been labeled for us, capital A. So the side which is opposite it is going to be lowercase a. B is over here. So the side which is opposite it is going to be lowercase b. Okay, so lowercase b there. And then C is over here. So the side which is opposite here is going to be lowercase c. Okay, so we've labeled our sides. So what we're going to have is our formula. We're calculating the length of a side. So it's going to be a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. Okay, now what's lowercase a? Lowercase a is x. Okay, so instead of a, we're going to write an x. X squared. Okay, instead of b, lowercase b, we're going to write in 7 because 7 is lowercase b over here. Okay, so we're going to write in 7, 7 squared. Instead of lowercase c, we're going to write in 5. Okay, so we're going to write in 5 squared. Okay, so it's going to be 5 squared. And then we're going to subtract 2. And remember, all of this is being multiplied. Okay, so it's going to be 2. Whenever it's being multiplied, just add in brackets and then type into your calculator. So 2 lowercase b is 7. Lowercase c is 5. And then you're going to have cos a, which is 42. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to type this as it is into our calculator. Okay, now if we type it into our calculator, we're going to get 7 squared plus 5 squared minus 2, 7, 5, cos 42. Okay, so we're going to be left with x squared on the left side, and that's going to be equal to 21.9798622. Okay, but we don't want x squared, we just want x. Okay, we just want x, we don't want x squared. Okay, so we need to do the opposite of squaring something to get rid of that squared. So we're going to square root everything which is on the right side. So 21.9798622. Okay, so if we square root that, we're going to get an answer of 4.688 268573. Okay, and then it says give your answer to 3 significant figures. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3. Cut it off over here, 8 rounds up, so we're going to get an answer of 4.69 as your answer. Okay, so your answer to this question is 4.69. So that's how you would answer a question like this when you're working out the length of a side. So hopefully that's made sense. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the Q&A and I'll answer them for you. But now what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at a question that involves deriving the angle formula. Okay, so now we're going to be using this formula. So we've looked at using this first formula. We're going to look at using the second formula now. Okay, first of all, how can you get from the first formula to the second formula? Okay, this is literally just rearranged. Okay, so we originally had a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a as our formula. Now we can rearrange this formula to get the formula to calculate a missing angle. Okay, all we need to do is we need to make cos a the subject of the formula. Okay, you can either just learn this. I'm pretty sure this is given on the um, formula sheet as well. But it's always helpful to know how to derive it in an exam. Okay, so you need to make cos A the subject of the formula. In order to make it the subject of the formula, you're going to get rid of everything. So let's get rid of this b squared first. Okay, at the moment, this b squared is being added. So to get rid of it, we're going to subtract b squared on both sides. Okay, so you're going to be left with a squared minus b squared. That's going to get rid of this b squared. And that's equal to c squared minus 2bc cos a. Okay, let's get rid of the c squared. At the moment, it's being added. So let's subtract c squared from both sides. Okay, and that's going to get rid of this c squared. So we're going to be left with a squared minus b squared minus c squared. Okay. And then we're going to be left with minus 2bc cos a. Okay. And remember, all of this is being multiplied. So all is being multiplied. So in order to get rid of something that is being multiplied, you have to divide. So we want cos A to be the subject. We're just going to divide by 2 minus 2bc to leave cos A by itself. And whatever we do to one side, we must do to the other side. So that's going to get rid of minus 2bc. So you're going to be left with cos A on that side. And we're going to be left with a squared minus b squared minus c squared over minus 2bc. Okay, and this thing is the exact same thing as this thing over there. Okay, both of these are interchangeable and are the exact same. I can make this look like that by changing everything that's negative into a positive. Okay, so you could have cos A, if you multiply everything by minus 1, you would get b squared plus c squared minus a squared over 2bc. I've changed everything that's positive into negative and negative into positive. Okay, so that's how you can derive the angle formula. Okay, you won't be required to, but it's just a way of getting it in an exam. Okay, you will have the formula sheet with you. You can just use the formula of that if you want to. Okay, but we're going to look at an example which involves calculating the angle. Okay, so first step is going to be the same each time. Step 1 is going to be labeling the sides. So it's going to be label the sides. Okay, and remember, the angle that we don't know or the side that we don't know has to be labeled with A. Okay, so this is the angle that we don't know, so we're going to label this as capital A. The side opposite it is going to be lowercase a. Then we can label B and C in any order. So we'll label this as capital B and this is capital C. Side opposite this is going to be lowercase b, and then side which is opposite this is going to be lowercase c. Make sense? Okay, now we've labeled the sides. Second step is we're going to write out the formula. Okay, so the formula is going to be nothing different. The formula is literally going to be what we had on the previous slide. So we're going to write down the formula. So it's cos A equals b squared plus c squared minus a squared over 2bc. Okay, so that's our formula that we've written down. And now what we do is the exact same thing that we've been doing all along, is we're going to substitute into formula. So we've got cos capital A is x. So we're just going to write cos x equals, and then we're going to have lowercase b squared. Where's lowercase b? Lowercase b is over here. So we're going to have 16 squared, like that, plus lowercase c squared, where's c? C is here. So we're going to have 15 squared minus lowercase a. Where's lowercase a? Lowercase a is here. So we're going to have minus 20 squared. And then we're going to divide it by 2. And then bc. Lowercase b is here, 16. And lowercase c is here, 15. Okay? And then we're going to ask us the question. We don't want cos x. We just want x. So to get rid of that cos, we need to inverse cos the other side, same as the sine. Okay, so we're gonna inverse cos as our first as our last step, okay, to get rid of the cos that we don't want on this side. We want x to be by itself. Okay, so we're going to inverse cos the other side. So we're going to be left with x on the left side, and that's going to be equal to inverse cos to the power of -1 of everything that we had on that side. So we had 16 squared minus 15 squared, plus 15 squared minus 20 squared over 2, 16, and 15. Okay, and that's what you type into your calculator. Okay, so I'm going to type this into my calculator. So we're going to have inverse cos of 16 squared plus 15 squared minus 20 squared over 2, 16, 15. Close your brackets, and you will get an answer of 80.28. So you would get an answer of 80.28485,063. It does say to 3 significant figures. So you're going to 1, 2, 3, cut off there, rounds up. So it's going to be 80.3 degrees. Okay, so it's going to be 80.3 degrees, your final answer. Okay, again, just going over it very quickly. Step 1 is going to be label the sides. As normal, just make sure your A is on the side which you don't know, or the angle that you don't know. Write down the formula, cos A equals B squared plus C squared minus A squared over 2BC. Substitute in the values that you can see from the question. And then finally, inverse cos your answer. Inverse cos the other side to get just x. Okay, so that's how you would work out angle questions. And notice here, we're using the cosine rule because we have 3 sides and we have 1 angle, okay, including x. 3 sides and 1 angle, including x. If it's a 2-2 split, then it's the sine rule. If it's a 3-1 split, then it's the cosine rule. Okay, a question for you guys to have a go at now. Again, I'm going to give you guys 3 minutes to answer this question. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the Q&A. I'll be happy to answer them for you. But I'll give you 3 minutes to have a go at this question, and then I'll go through the answers with you. Let me know in the Q&A once you get to an answer. Okay, I'm going to give you guys 1 more minute, and then I'll go through the answers. Okay, I'm going to go through the answers now. Okay, so it says work out the angle of, well, work out the size of the angle ABC. So ABC is this angle over here. Just look at the middle letter. Okay, middle letter is B. So the angle that you need to work out is B. Okay, so that's the angle that we need to work out. So what we're going to do, step one is going to be label the sides. Now, they've labeled the triangle for us. However, they've labeled it wrong. Okay, that they've done that to confuse us. What do we know? We know that A, B, and C, we know that A has to be on the one, which we have no clue about. It's the one that is X. Okay, now at the moment, B is X. So what we're going to do is we're just going to discard these letters. We're not going to pay attention to these letters. Okay, and we're going to write in our own letters. So we know that because this is angle X, this is going to be capital A. And then the side which is opposite it is going to be lowercase a. And then the other two can be B and C in any order. Okay, so I'll just label this one as B and this one as C. So the side which is opposite this one is going to be lowercase b. And then the side which is opposite angle C, which is this one, is going to be lowercase c. Just like that. So we've labeled the sides. Now what we're going to do is we're going to write down the formula. Okay, now our formula for calculating angles is cos A equals B squared plus C squared minus A squared over 2BC. That's our formula. Now the third step is we are going to substitute into the formula. We're going to substitute into the formula. So cos capital A, which we don't know is X, so we're going to leave that with X, and that's equal to B squared. Where's B? And B is over here, which is 9 squared, plus C squared, where's C? C is over here, that's 5. 5 squared minus A is over here, which is 10. So it's going to be 10 squared over 2 lowercase b is over here, and lowercase c is over here, 2bc. Okay, so just like that. Now, if you have a look at this question, we don't want cos x, we just want x. So we're going to rearrange, we're going to find the inverse cos of the other side. So we're going to have x equals inverse cos, shift cos, cos to the power of minus 1 of everything on the other side. So we're going to have 9 squared plus 5 squared minus 10 squared over 295. Close your brackets. Okay, and if we type that into our calculator, 9 squared plus 5 squared minus 10 squared over 295, we get an answer of 86.1774467. Okay, and it does say to the nearest degree, so we would get an answer of 86 degrees to the nearest whole degree. Okay, so our answer is 86 degrees. Okay, so the confusing part of this question was that they labeled the triangle wrong for us, so we had to label it ourselves, and we had to ignore the markings from what they've labeled and use our markings. Okay, so that's that question done. What we have now, before we end off, is just one final question over here. So you have to use, so this is a 5-marker question. Again, people wanted harder questions, so I've added in one hard question at the end of this topic here. So for this question, I'm going to give you guys 4 minutes to have a go at it, just because of time. And then let me know what you get in the Q&A, and then we'll go through the answers. Okay, just one more minute. Okay, I'm going to go through the answers to this question now. So first of all, it says work out the value of x. X is an angle on the other triangle. In order to work out x over here, we need to know at least two sides of this right angle triangle. And so we need to work out the side which connects the two triangles together. So we need to work out that red side first. And then we can use SOHCAHTOA to work out the angle of the right angle triangle. Okay, so first of all, we need to work out this side over here. We'll label that as x. Okay, are we going to use sine rule or cosine rule? We've got one side, two side, three sides, one angle. So we have a three side to one angle split. So we're going to use cosine. Okay, so I'm just going to redraw that triangle out. So we've got a triangle like this. This is 10 centimeters. This is 13 centimeters. This is 40 degrees, and this is x. We can use cosine rule over here. This is a, this is lowercase a, this is b, this is lowercase b, this is c, this is lowercase c. Okay, and remember just labeling the triangle there. A is the side with x. Okay, because we're working out the side, we're going to use a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. Okay, so lowercase a is x, so we've got x squared equals lowercase b, which is 10 squared, plus lowercase c, which is 13 squared, minus 2, b, which is 10, c, which is 13, cos a, which is 40. Okay, and then we're going to type that into our calculator, and we're going to get an answer. So it's got 10 squared plus 13 squared minus 2, 10, 13, cos 40. And that gives us an answer of 69.8284479. We don't want x squared, we just want x, so we're going to square root that answer. Okay, and that's going to give us an answer of 8.356341591. Okay, so that's the length of x. That's this length. Now, if I draw the right angle triangle out over here, we've got a right angle triangle. We know this is 8.356. We know this is x, and we know this is 5. Now, because it's a right angle triangle, we know two sides. We need to work out an angle. We can use SOHCAHTOA. So right angle here, side opposite here is the hypotenuse. Angle over here, so the side which is opposite here is going to be the opposite, and then the side which joins the angle to the right angle is the adjacent. Okay, so we've got SOH, we've got KAH, and we've got TOA. Now, which rule are we going to use? Okay, so if we look at the side that we don't need, we have no information about the hypotenuse, so we're going to scrap that. We just need the rule that has O in it and A in it. This one has O and H, we don't need that. This one has A and H, we don't need that. We need this one over here. This one has O and A in it. Okay, which one do we need to work out? We need to work out tan. So we're going to cover it up. We're going to be left with O over A. So we know that tan x is going to be equal to O divided by A. O is 8.356 divided by A, which is 5. And to work out our angle, we're going to inverse tan to get x by itself. We're going to inverse tan minus 1 of everything on the other side. And that's what we type into our calculator. Okay, so tan minus 1 of your answer divided by 5. And that's going to give us an answer of 59.10589,312. And it does say to one decimal place, so it says x equals 59.1 degrees. Okay, so that's how you would answer this 5-mark exam question. First of all, you would use the cosine rule to work out the length of the side. And then once you've worked that out, of the right angle triangle, you have two sides and one angle. And then what you can do is you can use SOHCAHTOA to work out the length of that angle. Okay, if you guys have any questions on that question, let me know now in the Q&A. Okay.